Make that. I okay. So there's a little bit of lag between what's going on there and what's going on the screen. So I'm like, fun part about technology. Okay, my name is Cassie, and I run the writing club here. We do have online. I don't want to be. Yeah, we do have an online it's a Google classroom. It's pretty much just reposting all the stuff in the video, and if you have anything you're writing and you want someone to look over it, you can send it in, and we'll look in the library staff will look it up mostly me, will look it over and for, like, proofreading and stuff. Yeah. If you go onto our Google Classroom, there's a thing on there that makes it nice and easy for us so that we can do that. It'll bring up a Google document, and you just put the words that you're writing into the Google document, and then we can see it and go through and mark stuff and put comments and highlights and stuff on it. Yep, yep. It may take time, but we'll do it. Okay, so now this this month's uh, session is on right, come on, it's on writing for magazines. It'll be the 2nd of September. I won't be here because I am going to be on vacation. We'll be showing I'll be pre-recording the slideshow and video, and with my talking over it, so we'll be showing that instead. It's just, yeah, that's my. I decided to take a cruise to Alaska the last week of August.
Oh, I envy you. I love to
Yes.
do that.
And my flight gets back like midnight on the 2nd.
Are those Alaskan cruises, are they crowded like those Caribbean ones? Are they a little bit more?
I've done it before, and the ships are small. So they don't allow the, like, gigantic, huge ships to come through. But, so there's only around, like, 3,000, 4,000. I can't remember the exact number, but something like that on each ship. So it doesn't feel crowded because everyone is, like, off doing their own thing. So but it feels, like, kinda crowded in port because usually there's, like, 3 ships in port at the same time.
I think you're right. I mean, that just be a good way to relax.
It's you're only seeing, like, you know how the shape of Alaska, there's the big part, and then there's the little peninsula that comes off here, and then there's the part that's down here. That's the part where most of the cruises hit. So you've only got, like, that section versus the whole of Alaska.
If I wanted to go on a cruise, I wanna be sightseeing. I don't love
Mhm. It's nice in the evening when, you know,
yeah.
but if you're going for seeing the, like, scenery and stuff, Alaska is it's also one of the more expensive, but I've been saving up for 5 years.
Yeah.
So, alright. So basics of you're going to change on me? You will eventually, because there's about a 20-second delay between what is up on the screen and what is on my screen. So, like I said, this month is magazine writing. Um, there we go. So I actually have a degree in journalism from Indiana State University. So this is actually something I've been taught and trained to do. I was published in newspapers in Ireland as well as newspapers here in the States because I did my internship in Ireland.
Wow, you did go to Ireland? I mean, you didn't do it online. You actually
No,
went
I was actually there for 3 months working for there. So for when it comes to journalistic writing, which is what you're going to be using for magazine writing, if you're writing like nonfiction stuff, the literary writing has a completely different set of rules. But for nonfiction stuff, this is what you're going to be um, called the inverted pyramid style, where your most newsworthy bit is at the top, the who, the what, the where, the when. necessarily the how tends to be the important details, like man versus alligator is the title of the article. And the first line will tell you who the guy is, how old he is, where he's from, or where the event happened. And then it'll go on to say other things. Oh, he was extremely drunk at the time, or he had a blood alcohol level of, you know, 1.23, which is dead. And then all of the other little general info and background info is at the very bottom so that it can be cut out by the copy editors if they need to cut you down for space. Um, so the more generally when it comes to writing for nonfiction stuff like this, like for newspapers, more newsworthy magazines, you're going to find your first bit of information, your very first line is going to be most of your facts, and then you get to build it out further down as you go. Generally, be careful with descriptors. I wrote that down to be careful with your words because there are some people who they don't like to repeat the same words over and over in an article. Even if it's like ran, like he ran here, he ran there, he ran everywhere. They'll change ran to being like jogged or galloped or different words that are technically synonyms of ran, but that can run you into some issues because even if they're synonyms, they have different meanings. So be careful with that. And in general, less is more, less words, less description. You're trying to get the facts out. So that's the basics of journalistic writing. I referenced it a couple times in here, and I wanted to have a slide saying what I mean when I say inverted pyramid style. So next slide, which should be coming up in just a few seconds, is on the different types of magazines. There we go. Your magazines are broadly covered in three areas. There's your general interest. That's gonna be one that someone just can pick up out of nowhere and they'll find something for them in it. Think your time, think people, think Vogue, think most of the ones you'll see in the grocery store supermarket line. These are the ones that most people know. Then you have the specialized interest ones. These are going to be like Sports Illustrated, National Geographic, All Recipes. This is also where you're going to get into your fan signs or fan made magazines and also your literary magazines because they're going to be on a specific topic. National Geographic is about nature. Sports Illustrated is about sports. I don't expect to see like recipes in Sports Illustrated, or I don't expect to see like decorating tips in Sports Illustrated. I might see recipes, but they're for like how to make the best protein smoothie, kind of. If it's going to be something that's like not in your area of interest, it has to at least tie in fairly closely. And then you have your professional type of magazine, and that is things like the Journal of American Medicine, the American Lawyer. There's also Kirkus Review, which is Kirkus Review is a magazine where they send out about books that are going to be coming out, and they go out to like libraries and bookstores. So this is going to be your professional, furthering your education or finding out what's going on in your profession. You're not generally going to find these on like the supermarket shelf. You're going to have to like subscribe to them. These are the ones that you'll also get your uh, networking in and the like. If you get into those, usually your name gets out to a bunch of people who are already within your specific niche area. So the ones we're going to be focusing on right now is going to be specialized interests, although I've got some. Another thing you might hear a professional magazine being called is a trade magazine. Like I said, for like the American Lawyer, that's going to be their trade magazine. Generally for professionals in the industry rather than the general public, and it's the best way to network. Usually they'll have um, like contacts, like, instead of like the classifieds, they'll have like just like different not necessarily just, hey, contact these people, but like, hey, these people are doing stuff in this kind of research. If you're interested, reach out to them, kind of thing. This is the one that I'm focusing on today primarily. This is Literary Magazine. It is a specialized type of a specialized interest type of magazine, kind of like Sports Illustrated or National Geographic is. Typically, they publish creative writing, poetry, essays, and critiques on the literature slash creating. I can't talk. Critiques on literature or creative writing, and they generally, if there's a genre out there, you can find a thing for it. Like right there is, let's see, Ellery Queen is for mysteries, Latin America Literature Today, ALC, I believe that is a horror magazine, Monkey Bicycle, can't remember which one that is, but it is a specific literary magazine. Similar, we'll go over those further in depth. I just want to do a, hey, here's some interesting. The next one, come on, get to the list of time. The next one to cover is the fanzine or fanzine. If you're in like a fan space, so created by fans for fans. When you go, these are some of the first created for Star Trek, and they were mostly created by women. So you will, if anyone says, "Oh, women aren't into like Star Trek and Star Wars and stuff like that," it's like, no, it's just men that pushed us out. But the first fan magazines and the first like conventions were run by women and were put together by women. So fanzines, fanzine, I've heard them both said the same way. Like I said, created by fans for fans. They're often free or low cost. They generally don't pay anything. But they can still look good in the list of credentials, especially if you can get distribution numbers for the fanzine. So if you write a, I don't know, an article on the political ramifications in Star Trek for a specific like episode, and it gets published in a fanzine that's given away at like Gen Con. Get the numbers. That is really good. That's usually like 2, 3, even 1,000 copies, and that looks really good to the people when you write your letters. That looks very good. Okay, so this is just the coming up as the general. How does it work? One, you're going to choose the magazine and learn what you can about them. So you're going to basically stock a magazine that you want to write for, and you're going to find out what is their demographics, what is their writing requirements, what do they pay, what do they publish, are there any specific things that they don't publish, and then you're going to find your topic. Typically, downstairs, I think. Yep. Last I knew, she was going downstairs. Then you're going to find a topic. Sometimes they offer like they'll offer writing gigs through job boards, which I have a list of them, or you can come up with your own and try and sell it to them. And then you're going to choose your angle. So let's say your topic is going to be, I don't know, cats, training cats. So what is your angle going to be? How are you going to frame it? Are you going to frame it as like people say that cats can't be trained, but hey, look at this. Here's a way you can train your cat to do these things, and we've talked with XYZ experts, which goes on further down in the thing. What you're going to do is you're going to write a query letter with your framing in it, saying to the editor of the magazine, "Hey, I've got this article I'm working on. Would you guys like to publish it? Here's what the article is about. I expect to be XYZ amount of words, and they'll be talking to these people. Would you be interested?" And then they'll get back with you and say yes or no. Um, let's say they say yes, they're very interested in your article about how to train cats. or how cats can be trained. So you've been given the green light. So now what are we going to do? First thing you're going to do is you're going to find out what style the magazine uses. There are varying types. The one I was trained in is the um, Chicago style or the Chicago manual style. There's also the how did I put it? Most magazines are gonna have different style sheets, so that is going to be, do you use an Oxford comma? How many spaces are after the periods? What kind of wording do you use? If you have someone who has a title, do you refer to them as the, like, is it Doctor John Smith, DDS for the first time you mention him, and then you can just put Doctor Smith, or is it Doctor John, or Doctor John Smith throughout the rest of the article. So that's the kind of stuff you're gonna get on the style sheet. Usually the editors will just give them to you, but sometimes if it's like a big publication, they'll say, "Oh, just use the Chicago style the Chicago manual format." And you can get books on those, types of formatting at libraries. There's also, you might be familiar with the, MLA, like when you're doing citations in college papers, it's the same thing, that's just a different style manual. So it's going to depend on how your technical writing is going to be, is going to depend on the needs and wants of the place that you are writing this article for. Then you're going to do more research. You're going to research, you're going to interview your sources, and then you're going to bring it all together, all the information you've got, and you're going to make an outline of your article so you make sure you've got all the important information in inverted pyramid style. At the very top, you have the important stuff, and then you edit, and you will hate yourself for editing. Editing is always the hardest part of any kind of writing. And then when you've edited it until you don't think you can find any more misplaced commas or misspelled words or, um, oh, what is the one I'm always guilty of? Dropped phrases. Then you submit it and then profit. Then they'll tell you, "Oh, this is a fabulous article." After you submit it, it's out of your hands. They'll either publish it or not, and if they publish it, you get paid. And then you can keep track, you should keep track of if you've got any publications to your name, because if you're trying to get, like, a book published or a novel, you can say, "Oh, I was published in Cat Fancy Magazine." If you're writing a book that, like, has a cat as a main character or something. You go, "Oh, I was published in Cat Fancy Magazine, so I understand cats." I don't know why cats is my example, but I have cats on the brain. So, that is for the more nonfiction-y type. That's, like, how you would sell an article. Now, how you would sell a story, which is generally how it works for literary magazines, which is the next slide that's coming up, you're going to find a magazine that's the genre you write. Typically, you want to be subscribed to it. Sometimes that's just not feasible because it's too expensive. As long as you know, like, they've been around for a while, and if you go on Writer Beware, they don't have a red mark. Writer Beware is a website where writers can say things like, "Don't write for these people, they don't pay you," or stuff like that. I always check it before I submit anything to anywhere just to make sure there aren't any, like, they are late, they don't get you payments, or maybe a good one is they're sometimes late on payments, but people eventually get it to you, call them and remind them, kind of thing. Um, then you need to see what their submission guidelines are. Often there is going to be a theme that is going to be in the upcoming issues that they are getting rating for. Sometimes there is, sometimes there isn't. Like, the really big ones tend to not have themes, but the smaller ones do tend to have, like, from month to month, different themes. Write your story/essay and then submit it via the magazine's preferred way, whether this is email or if they have, like, a document upload service that they use, and then just wait and see if it gets published, and then profit or cry, and then repeat. So, the next one is writing for fanzines. So if you're in a fandom space, I'm going to use Star Trek for an example just because it is the granddaddy of them all. Um, let's say fandom you're in a fandom group online or in person that does, like you like to pretend you're, like, Star Trek, like, command like, part of Starfleet, and you have, like, your own thing, and you have a magazine that's going to go out and asking for people to submit stories, maybe for some of the things that you've done, that your group has done, like, write it as if it was a Star Trek episode. That's what these would be. Someone's putting together a fanzine, you sign up and tell them, "Hey, I'll write something for you." Write your bit and you submit it on time and then see if it gets included in the publication. Usually it will because they like to try and include one thing from everyone, and then you celebrate and make sure you get the, numbers for the distribution. Alright, now for the important part, where can you find these jobs? So, there are a couple of spots online that I go to for, um, when I'm going if I'm trying to find a it's freelance writing jobs. So if you search that, you're going to find a bunch of, like there's the, freelance writing Reddit threads, but very specifically, there is Upwork. Freelancer and freelancer.com are the 2 that get pointed out a lot. Um, they're both kind of different from each other. Like, freelancer is going to be they're going to you're going to list the skills that you have, and there we go. This is, freelancer.com. You're going to put down the skills like you're a writer, you do XYZ kind of writing, here's my credentials, and then they will contact you versus something um, like say Indeed, where the publisher is putting out, "Hey, we're looking for a writer to write an article for this publication," and then you contact them and get the information, and you get hired that way. So it's like one of them is, like, employer focused, and the other one is freelancer kind of focused. And then, of course, there's always the online you would be surprised how many jobs you can find in Facebook groups for writing. You would be surprised. There are all sorts of Facebook groups for freelancing, and they can be local, they can be regional, they can be national, international. If you can get your foot in the door in any of those and get some gigs that it really does help build up your writing credentials.
You've been
Yes, yes. I have let's see, I have one book that is currently with a, agent to see if we can shop it around and get it sold. I have another one that I'm working on that's going to be a web serial, and then I have 2 short stories that I'm getting ready to submit to a horror anthology for a Halloween release to see if they get it. So, I do fiction, a lot of fiction, despite having my journalism degree. Most of my writing nowadays is fiction. So, uh, if you can, try and, like, join organizations like, Romance Writers of America, if you can join them and get on their newsletter if you're a romance writer. Same for if you're a mystery writer, it's the Mystery Writers of America. There's usually organizations to help writers of various different kinds. If you can get into their newsletter, they usually also post freelance jobs or people are looking for writers for XYZ topic, so have fun. Um, And then there's just the basic internet search, Google search, Google search to see if you can find just someone who's looking for something. Um, sometimes it'll be some of the, like, literary magazines, they'll take up to novella lengths because they're e-magazines now instead of being print ones. Because if they were print, they'd be, like, this big every single issue. But they'll take up to, like, 30,000 words, some of them. It's just a matter of finding them. Um, things you need to be aware of when you are writing for magazines. A, or number 1, who is keeping the rights to the writing? Are they asking for, um, limited first time and published, uh, 1 year online rights, or are they keeping the rights to your writing in perpetuity? Usually it's the first one, like, they get a year of online, and they also get the first printing rights, and that just means that you have to wait for the first print to get done before you can sell it to another place. If another place will take, like, second print rights, or if you wanna put it up on, like, your website, you have to wait for that time to run out. So, like, if I have something that gets published today and it's a 1-year online exclusivity right, I won't be able to post what was just published until August 5th of 2026. How much do they pay? That is going to change between publication. It can be anywhere from, like, 5 cents a word to 14 cents a word to, we'll pay $200 for, everything for every item we publish. It's just going to depend on the magazine. Usually, you're going to get paid by the word, but there are differences, like, if it's going to be a freelance job that they post, they'll tell you, "Oh, you get XYZ amount of pay." That's it. So then it's up to you of, like, is the amount of effort I'm putting into this worth that amount of money? Is it gonna be an article that takes me 100 hours to do research and interviews for, but they're only paying $1,000 for it? Is that worth it? So there's part of that that goes into it. And the third, is the magazine legit? This is what you get into when you go into the online ones. I know I mentioned Reader Beware, not Reader Beware, Writer Beware before. That is a website, and it is a blog, but they, how do they put it? The official blog of Writers Beware shines a bright light into the dark corners of the shadow world of literary scams, schemes, and pitfalls, also offering advice for writers, industry news, and commentary. So come on up there so I can, yep, there we go. So I like to search there, like, especially the, like, impersonation list and the overseas scam list. So, like, these can kind of help you not accidentally give your information away to a scammer. I like to search before I do, like, contract signing or anything. I like to check there, and then I like to look at reviews for them. Usually that'll tell you whether they're legitimate or not. That's also how you can find a lot of, my voice is squeaking. A lot of vanity presses. Do you know what that is?
And
Yeah, vanity presses. Those are ones that it's also called print on demand, but it's not exactly print on demand. It's print on demand with extras attached to it. So print on demand is kind of like, think, Amazon, when you put a book for sale on Amazon, you're not having a warehouse with 300 of your books, and then you're sending out each one. So when someone buys that book, they'll get sent a copy of it from Amazon. You're not having to have a huge stock beside you and wrap them all up yourself. Um, That is print on demand. There is one printed every time there's demand for it, versus traditional publishing where they print, like, thousands at once and they get sent off to warehouses and libraries and bookstores. That's traditional publishing. Vanity press is when there's a group that says, "Hey, we will get your book published. All you have to do is pay us $2,000 and we'll do everything for you. We'll design it and the covers look horrible and, like, the formatting is off, and they give you the worst possible, like, binding on the books." So, that's kind of like vanity press wise. Um, let me here we go. Basically, if it's going to be a thing where you're paying to get your work published, it's generally considered vanity press. Uh-huh, basically paid play.
Kind of a
Yep,
scam.
that's why it's often very derivative. There's a better definition of it than I yeah. Now, there are some, like, publishers that have self-publishing options where it may cost you, like, $200 to get it, like, published, but you're getting it put in their catalog, and often they'll help you get an ISBN number, and also sometimes help you get registered for copyright. So that's you're paying them for a service to help you get published versus Vanity Press where they're just like, there's no investing in the work at all. There's the biggest example I can think of what I'm talking about is, let me get this up. So a lot of the ones like I was talking about were like sometimes you'll pay $200 and they'll like get you registered for an ISBN number or maybe help you with copyright or stuff like that. Someone, there we go. Ingram Spark is one of the ones that I would use, and that's primarily because they're done through Ingram. We're a very big book distributor. In fact, we get books from Ingram. So quite often, if you are published on Ingram's via Ingram Spark, you can put into their catalog which libraries can order from. Some libraries can't order from like Amazon. So if you have a book that's only available for sale on Amazon, some libraries, their policies won't let them buy it in the collection. And this kind of gets around it. But Ingram's, if I'm correct in remembering, theirs, you have to get your own ISBN number. You have to have all the stuff that if you were being traditionally published would be handled by the publisher. So you have to format everything. You have to have all your images for your cover art and all that. But if I remember correctly, they won't charge you to get the book published and listed, but you will pay them for buying copies that you can later sell. But they will sell to you at a different markup. So come on, there we go. Yeah, that's how they do it. So it's not that you're paying to get it published, it's you're paying for the copies you're making. So you're paying for the hard like, if I went and got this book, if I wrote this book, and I wanted copies to sell, I'd buy them from Ingram at less than, okay, for 21.99, they'd probably sell it for like 18.
So people, I mean, publishing.
No, you can. This is just for self-publishing. It's just if you're going through a publishing company, that's traditional publishing, and there's a lot of extra steps, because a lot of the traditional publishers are no longer accepting unagented queries. So then you have to be a literary agent. Well, a lot of literary agents won't um, accept people who are not already published, and in order to get published, you have to have an agent. So you can see where this just kind of feeds on each other. But not every agent is like that. There are places out there where you can find agents that accept unsolicited manuscripts. That's what it's called. You can also find smaller publishers, like not the big four, not like Penguin Random House, Simon and Schuster, Macmillan. I forget what number four is. Tor? No, that's hard. I'll remember it eventually, but there's like the four big publishing houses, and then they have a bunch of imprints. So it's like big umbrella over a bunch of little tiny like Tortians. Uh, I can't think of any more off the top of my head. It's 5:30. My brain's not working. Um, but shit, it would help if I could spell. All right. So for traditional publishing, you're going to get a company that takes on responsibility for publishing the book and handling the editing, design, marketing, and distribution. This is a halfway point of they are going to take care of the actual making of the book, Ingram Spark, but you're going to do everything else. You're going to write it, edit it, and they're just going to take responsibility for making you as many copies as you want, or as many copies as get sold. Now, traditional publishing, in most cases, you're going to need to secure a literary agent, which I have a saved video from earlier this talking about how to write a query letter, which you're going to do that. You're going to write an agent. I have this manuscript written. It's about XYZ John. Here's the story. Are you interested? And they will tell you yes or no. They say yes, then they're like, yes, send us the manuscript. You send them the manuscript, and they start shopping it around to, they have connections with the publishers, they know the different editors, they know what they like, they know what the they know what's like coming up to come out, they know what's popular right now, what they hope is going to be popular. They're always trying to get ahead of that trend. And then they will sell your manuscript to a traditional publisher. And then that'll go to the traditional publisher's editor. And they'll probably say, okay, you need to make a few changes. Like, you need to tighten up your plot. You need to change your wording. Maybe make it for a young, when it comes to women, a lot of the time, female publishers, not female publishers, female writers love to say, hey, can you make it more for teens? Or if you're writing something for teens, can you make it more for adults, but still teen? Sorry, that's a trend right now that annoys me to death. Like the whole teen or YA genre is going from 12 to 17 to 16 to 23, being like the main character's age. It annoys me. So then once the traditional publisher finally says, okay, we like it, we're going to send it out to be published. So now it's on the presses, it's coming out, and they take care of the marketing. So then it gets in things like Kirkus Review. It gets put out on NetGalley for advanced reader copies. They send it out to various readers. These are the people who really push for, like, um, you know how books can have reviews before they even come out. So like they'll say Stephen King says most scary book I've ever written or I've ever read. Like sometimes it'll be on the like front. That's what they do. They send them out to him, and then people just give a one line. blurb and it just gets pasted onto it. Or you'll go onto Amazon and see a book that's not even come out yet, has like 15 reviews from people who've gotten an advanced copy of it. Publisher.
Okay. They read it and they gave it.
Mhm. Which I do that. I'm on NetGalley, and you can read. You get advanced reader copies. That's what Arc is. And what you'll do is you'll read whatever it is, and then you'll write a review of it. And the publisher may choose, hey, this sounds really good. We're going to add it on to the listing for the book. They'll like take a snippet of your review and slap it in the book. So that's one of the things that happens when you have traditional publishing versus being self-published. You have an entire team that is marketing that book, which is very helpful. Okay, I lost them with this. So that's just the basics of traditional publishing versus self-publishing. Traditional publishing, you have a team that is doing the editing for you. They're doing the formatting for you. They're designing the cover, sometimes without your input. Um, and then they're doing the marketing, as well as physically getting a physical copy made. Whereas self-publishing, you're doing all that yourself and maybe going to a publishing company like Ingram Smart or Kindle Direct or uh, Amazon's used to be Create Space, I think, where you do all of the editing, the formatting, cover design, the writing, all of that, and they will just make the book. They will take the information that you give and make the book. They won't have any input in it at all. So that's more self-publishing. Vanity publishing is saying, "Hey, we'll publish the book for you. We'll do all of this, and but you have to pay us like $5,000 upfront." So that's vanity publishing difference. So like self-publishing, you may end up paying a small fee upfront, or you're paying like if you get a book published and you order 100 books from your publisher, you're going to pay for those books, but it's probably going to be at wholesale price, and then you can still make a little bit of profit. So that's more self-publishing versus vanity publishing of like, give us $5,000 and we'll publish your book, but we won't do anything about it. So people might say they're published, but they paid to get published.
So you were conscious when you were writing conscious.
Oh God, yes, yes.
It was 10 years ago when I decided to learn about writing, and I took some free courses like Biddle County Law,
Mhm.
something like that. But see, I've been having to learn a lot. I mean, because I've been to college and I majored in different things and changed majors, and I, I just